Hiya! But yeah, I thought I will attempt to do the November wrap-up and December TBR and see how it goes. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I'll do it more often. Let's get into it. So I read a few books in November, probably not as many as some people, but it's an okay amount for a slow reader like myself. The first book I read in November was The Girl on the Train, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I think it was interesting, but it wasn't anything particularly special. I still haven't read The Gone Girl, but I've seen the movie and I wanted to read The Girl on the Train before I've seen the movie because I actually really enjoyed The Gone Girl movie. I was just expecting something better from The Girl on the Train and I didn't love it. And it was still enjoyable though. It was written in a really believable manner, even though like a lot of things were not believable. I did sort of enjoy that the main character had an alcohol addiction, so that was a really interesting point of view. However, I did not enjoy the whole building suspense part because I thought it was fairly predictable, so it wasn't as much of a thriller detective sort of thing. It was more of a stretching this preamble to the main event. When you know what the main event is, it's just not as interesting for the whole stretch. I don't know. The second book was Afterimage by Jake Wallace. I initially said it was 4.5 stars out of 5. Since then I sort of changed my mind. That happens to me a lot. By the way, when it settles down with me, I change my mind just that tiny bit. And I think this book was a 4 instead of 4.5. Not that it makes a big difference, but I don't think it's 4.5. I think it's a 4. It's a solid 4 out of 5 stars. This book was a part of book vlog tour and I did a video on it if you want to check it out, so I'm gonna link it down below, so it's gonna be all easy for you. And I did really enjoy this. It's a science fiction dystopian. I think my favorite part was the fact that they dealt with memory and mental illness, maybe not directly, but it was definitely in there, so I really did enjoy that part of it. Next we have Illuminate, and this was this was definitely 5 out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed it. It just flew by. I started it and then I had to work, and I really hated the fact that I had to work and I couldn't continue reading this. And as soon as I came back home, I read this book in like 3 days, which is huge for me. I'm sure you know what this is about already, but if you don't, it's a story that is told from a multiple perspectives. It's in a format of logs and surveillance camera guide that is hilarious. It's really funny. It's very sarcastic, it's very ironic, but obviously the main event is not glorified. There's a lot of people who are dying and a lot of people who are dead. It's definitely a science fiction. I mean, there's even a perspective from a computer side, which was really interesting. I just loved it. It was an emotional roller coaster, by the way. The authors were cruel. You'll think that something is happening and then it's not gonna happen. It was a journey, and I really recommend this. This is amazing. I'm gonna have a review of this book for sure. I might not be doing it alone, which is gonna be quite interesting to see how you guys like it. And yeah, I loved it. It was definitely the best book in November for me, for sure. Next we have a 6th edition of Saga, which is a graphic novel, and Saga is definitely one of my favorite graphic novels. When the 6th one came out, I was dying to read it, and somehow I didn't for like 5 months after I got it. I even pre-ordered it and everything, and I just haven't read it, but I sat down and I read it now, and I really enjoyed it, of course, because Fiona Staples' artwork is just beautiful, and then obviously the writing is brilliant. And the only reason this got 4 and not 5 stars from me is the end, because I hated it. I was just like, ugh, not again. I'm obviously not gonna tell you what it was, but I just hope they're gonna go around it somehow and it's just not gonna happen, but whatever. Just like didn't like the end. And last thing I read in November was Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and that's just an original story because I wanted to read this before I pick up The Heartless, which I did do at the end of November, but I'm still in that book, so I'm not really counting it. I don't know what are the rules here. It definitely had a lot of quotes that I can see why people would be like, oh, that is so cool. And it's written beautifully, and it's such a childish perspective, but it's so magical and innocent, and everything is just beautiful. I think it was like 4 out of 5 for me as well, because I adored the writing and I adored the perspectives and I adore the magic, and it was just a bit too much at the end for me, but I still love this book. It's a beautiful book and it's a beautiful fairy tale, and I think it's very deep for a fairy tale. I think that's all that I read in November, so now let's move on to the December TBR. Now with TBRs, I expect myself to be quite bad with that because I read what I feel like reading at that specific moment, so it's hard for me to sort of plan. There's so many books that I want to read. There are at least 2 that I'm definitely gonna read during this month because I already started them. I'm sure I'm not the only person feeling like that. So I have already mentioned that I'm reading Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I also saw this. Can you see it? It ripped the page. I love this bookmark, but it's too heavy for this paper. I think I'll have to like use something else because it ripped it. But yeah, I'm only like 80 pages in, but I'm loving this book. It's not only is it pretty from the outside, it's really, really beautiful. It's written in such an amazing way. You would never think it's about the Queen of Hearts. It's just the main character is such a sweetheart. She doesn't want any of the attention from the king, although she's getting it, and her life dream is to open a bakery, and she wants to do that with one of her maids, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful person. And I don't know, I know something's horrible gonna happen because all the Instagram stories always have like crying faces when people stop reading this, and also something horrible has to happen for her to become the person that we know in the Alice in Wonderland world. But I just want her to be happy and open her bloody bakery, but I know it's gonna be heartbreaking. But I cannot wait to come back to reading this because I had to swap this for Our Demon's Best Friends, and this is December's book for the book vlog tour. It's by Diana Scott, and I'm not gonna speak a lot about this book because I'm gonna do a short review on it on the 17th of December. I only started this last night when I came back because I'm only like 42 pages in, and the only thing that I can say about it at the moment is that it's very, very different from what I expected, which is a good thing. We'll see how that goes. The other book that I really also want to read in the month of December is The Stranger Game by Kylan Busby. I'm crap with names. This is the book that we got in the Book Box Club subscription box, and I do really want to read it in December and before the December's book box meeting because you get to speak with the author, and I really want to, like, you know, be a part of it. I really love the meeting that we had about the call, and it's just such a good experience. I just want to read it in time because I missed November's meeting because I haven't read the book, and so I want to do this. And it's not like a really long book, and it seems quite interesting. It deals with amnesia. It sounds very much like a soap opera thing, so I'm hoping I will get to it. Another thing I want to get to is The Paper Girls. It's written by Brian Bogan, I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is the same writer for the Saga series, I suppose, and Why the Last Man, which both of them I love. Why the Last Man not as much, but I still really enjoyed. And Paper Girls, I've started it, but I just did not finish it, and I don't really remember what it was about, but I really want to sit down and just read it. And well, from what I remember, this is very similar to Stranger Things, you know, the Netflix show. Of course, you know, everybody knows it by now, but I like that, as everyone, so I really should read this. I think it's very, very similar to that, except this is girls and not boys, and this has very much of a pop art style going on. I want to read it. It's a graphic novel. Like, I mean, like, I have to find time to read this, right? Now is when the TBR list is a bit weird because those books have reasons for why I want to read them, but then if I do have time in December to grab another book, it's gonna be a book, you know, the TBR list that does not have any deadline or anything, and I just want to read it. There's so many of them that I really don't know if this is gonna be one of them, but this has been on 5 at least books that I want to read as soon as I can, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, because everyone keeps talking about how great this book is and I want to be a part of it. Apparently it's so magical, and I can sort of see why people will say that, because even the cover is magical and you just have this magical feeling. I wish I had a hardcover though. Really want to get to this book and just so excited. But yeah, as I said, this is not set in stone, and it's probably gonna change quite a bit during the month of December, but hopefully I'm gonna stick somewhat to it. Let me know what you're planning on reading next, because I really want to know. Obviously always good to get some recommendations from people. Also let me know if you enjoy these sort of things and if you want me to make these videos, because then I will, because, you know, I'm here to serve you. I hope the rest of your day is brilliant, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Potter Crate from the Geek Gear box. So excited, you have no idea. I had this box for a week now, probably over a week, and I really want to open it, so let's just get into it. Dun, 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 dun.